Hey guys, Crank here. Today we're back on the G30 van, and guess what? We've got a cheap wiring harness we're going to throw in this thing to see, well, if it works. Because like I said, it was very cheap, especially compared to some of the big name brands out there. So I believe this was sub $90 on eBay. So let's get to it. But before we start, I did something. I went back and reworked some stuff that we'd already installed, and I told you I was thinking about doing it, but I wasn't sure if I was going to or not. Well, let's just take a look. Oh yeah, look at that bracket, looks so much better. And we did actually install the power steering pump off of the G30. You can't really see it. Let's see if we can get you back here. Nope, can't see it, can't tell, but it is the power steering pump off of the G30. I actually had replaced it not too long ago, so it should be good to go. And like I said, we'll buy a new hose here for this, but that'll just, go back there and attach to it, and we don't have to worry about trying to get down here to the filler cap for the power steering pump like we did on the LS one. So that'll be pretty good. But let's get to this wiring harness. As you can see, we've got it laid out here. Going to try to keep the ECU fuse box underneath of the driver's side seat, which is where it was originally for the TBI. The ECU is underneath the driver's seat. You can see here's the hole for that wiring harness. It actually comes through the floor pan right underneath the seat. And as you can see, if you've not watched our last episode, we did cut some rust out of the floor, replace that, and put down some sound dampening. Man, look at that. Looking fresh. New engine. New floor pan, sort of. Pieces of it anyway. But hey. Should help out with some of the road noise and just, keeping down vibrations. We're not finished with it. I'm going to do some other places. I may clean up, put it there in that step area. I do got to figure out what I want to do for carpet up in here, because it does just have the rubber mat. I'm going to probably try to clean it up and just put it in for now. But let's get to doing this wiring harness. I guess we're going to try to squeeze everything in that little hole. Start the end and just start trying to squeeze it through here. I hope you can't see my butt crack. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's all that needs to go up underneath there. So, there we go. So leave this sort of sitting in here. That's supposed to go to. You know, I should probably take a look at some of the papers that came with this wiring harness and check to see where this stuff goes to. I don't know if it needs to go under there, or under the dash, or what. We'll figure that out. No big deal. All right. All right, so we went ahead and pulled the old wiring harness out of the front. And we still have it where it's connected here, going over to our firewall. There are a few wires out there that I need to use for some of my gauges, but I wanted to get it out of the way so I can start running the new wiring harness. And once I sort of get that finished, I'll come in here and start figuring out what wires I need, pulling those out of this harness, and whatever I don't need, we'll get rid of, because, you know, that's just a lot of extra wiring we don't need in there. So it's already, you know, tight enough as it is, and we don't need, you know, useless stuff taking up space and weight, because remember, race fan. So once I got the wiring harness through the floor and outside of the van, I thought the best thing to do would be bring it back through a hole in the floor and back into the van, right? All right, so here we've got our installation stuff, just really looking to see where all the plugs go and see how this is going to work. I've already ran a couple wires down to the crank sensor and the starter, and then these wires are for the transmission. So we're just going to start slowly picking away here and trying to get everything where it goes, and I guess I'll set you all up on a time lapse somewhere, as long as I don't forget. I shouldn't. See how this goes. All right, so we've made pretty good progress, as you can see. The only thing that I'm running into now is for the mass airflow sensor. So this wiring harness has a plug for a mass airflow sensor and a temperature sensor. The mass airflow sensor that I have, though, I don't know where I put it. We're out here looking for a mass airflow sensor. No luck yet. That was one of the things missing out of that Suburban. So got a few more LS's around here we're going to take a look at and see what we can find. Well, we found what we were looking for, I believe. I think this should work. So go see how much he wants for it. But anyway, it's over there. The mass airflow sensor that I have is all, you know, one. It has the intake temperature sensor in it as well, the intake air temperature sensor in it as well. So I've got a plug, so I just have to pull some pins, figure out which wires go to what in the new one, as well as, so if you can see here, I've got it sort of ran down there. This plug for the coolant temperature sensor. I'm actually running a different coolant temperature sensor on this van. It's actually a 3-prong, where the factory is a 2. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'll be able to, I've got the pigtail for it, and I'll be able to wire that in to where it goes to the ECU and the gauge cluster. You know, 2 of them will go to the ECU, and then I think there's just the one that actually goes to the gauge cluster for the coolant temperature. That's going to be it for tonight. It's getting late. I'm going to go grab some dinner, and we'll be back out here tomorrow to push on, hopefully get this wiring finished up, and start finishing a few small things. Maybe try to get this thing turned over pretty soon. So we'll see. All right, so we're back in the shop today, and I'm working on this right here. So I talked about it a little bit last night before going in, and the wiring harness that I've got has a intake air temperature connector and a connector for a mass airflow sensor. The problem is the mass airflow sensor I have is this, this plug here, which I've got this one taken apart. But it is a 5-wire. Got the 5 wires out here. And we are going to depin the 2 connectors that are on this wiring harness that I received. I did look, and the wiring harness I ordered did show only 1 plug for a mass airflow sensor and not anything for an intake air temperature sensor. So I may reach out to them about that. Probably not, though. I can fix it. I'll maybe look at the part numbers to see if they did send me the wrong item. If they did send me the wrong item, oh well. If they sent me the item that I ordered and it is showing that it only has a 5-wire plug for a mass airflow sensor. But now that I think about it, the wiring harness is for an LS1, and I believe the LS1s actually do take a 3-wire mass airflow sensor and then a intake air temperature sensor. So I guess maybe just the photo on the description was wrong. It's probably pretty likely. Oh well, whatever. We're gonna fix it. So I've already depinned the connector that I have off of the wiring harness that I got with the engine that was chewed up and not everything there. But this was there, so that's good. We're gonna go to the front of the van and start depinning these connectors. I'm really hoping that the connectors have the same little, I don't know if you can see that very well, the little terminal here. Hopefully, it'd be pretty cool if all I had to do was pull the pins out of those connectors and just put them right in this connector. I'm not an electrical guy. I don't know. We'll find out. Find out right now. All right, I got my 5-pin connector on there, and I got my 3-pin connector for the coolant temperature sensor. As you can see, I wasn't able just to depin it, which is okay because the mass airflow sensor was a lot longer than the one for the wires for the intake air temperature sensor. And the most important thing is to not be suspicious about how I did it.
Don't be suspicious, 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 don't be.
I'm not proud of it. There's a few things I've done on these videos that I'm not proud of, but it's getting the job done, and I'm running out of time. I actually go back to work on Monday. Today is Thursday, so I've been off work for a little while, like I told you all in one of my earlier videos, and having some health issues going on. And I have stopped taking the medication that was causing the issues that was not allowing me to go to work. Basically, the site that I work at, I couldn't have any dizziness while on site, and we handle some pretty nasty stuff. So whenever I told them that this medication was causing dizziness, they sent me home, and I'm not allowed to come back until I had stopped taking the medicine and the dizziness had stopped. So stopped taking the medicine. So far, the dizziness has started to go away, which is good. And yeah, I'll be back at work Monday night, back on DuPont. I'm not looking forward to it, but is what it is. But hey, off the medication, I am feeling better. I'm still having a little bit of issues with the side of my head. Like right now, it's a little numb still. It's not as bad as it was 3 months ago when I started the medication, to where it was just, 24/7. It was either numb, tingling, or painful. So it has gotten better, but the issue isn't completely resolved. I do go back in for another MRI in November, and I'm going to talk to the radiation oncologist about, instead of just doing a neck scan, maybe do a neck and head scan, just to make sure there's nothing up there. Because like I said before, I went in for a lump, found out that I had a schwannoma in my neck, and then whenever I went to have radiation on the one schwannoma in my neck, they did I think it was an MRI at the time, and actually found out that I had another one sort of in the base of my skull, pretty close to my spine. So hopefully, if they well, I'm going to try to get them to do a neck and head. Hopefully they don't find anything else going on in there. Hopefully it is just something, they believe it's, what do they call it? I can't remember. Basically, nerve damage, tissue damage from the radiation, which is, it seems like that's probably what it is, since the medication they've had me on, this regimen, has seemed to help. So I'm gonna keep taking the vitamin E. So they had me on pentoxifylline and vitamin E. The pentoxifylline you don't want to stay on too long. I guess it can cause some liver issues. So like I said, I've stopped with that. I'm done with that. But I'm gonna keep on with the vitamin E, and I will start taking some. I think I'm gonna start taking L-arginine, just because it's supposed to help with blood flow as well. So maybe it'll potentially continue to help resolve the issue without having to be on prescription medication. But anyway, I think we've about got this wiring harness wrapped up. I still need to put in the driver's side O2 sensor, and I'm just gonna run a tube out with the mass airflow sensor and filter. I'm not gonna worry about trying to tuck it in anywhere. I'm basically just gonna have to try to get it to where this will reach, because as you can see, it's not the longest.
That's what she said.
Michael, please.
I really hope you all are fans of The Office, because I'm probably going to use that one a lot in my videos. I use that a lot in real life, so that's what you're going to get. Me. Crank. Oh, come on. All right, anyways, I think that's all the wiring that I need to do for the ECU wiring harness that I got. I do have to now do some of the fuel pump stuff, figure out what I got to do about the fuel pump relay. There wasn't anything in the harness for that. I did see in there, it talks about it. I may have another little harness that came with it. As far as the main harness goes, you can see here that I don't see anything for fuel pump, which is fine. We'll get it figured out. I do still have some of the plugs and the wires from the OEM wiring harness that I needed to pull out, and one of them is going to go to that green wire there for the engine coolant temp, as well as have that little sensor right there that isn't plugged into anything. That's oil pressure, I do believe. But I'm going to grab some zip ties, clean this wiring harness up, just go through, check, make sure everything's connected, and I think that'll be all for this wiring harness. So while I've got you down here, I thought I'd show you this. So this is where the OEM wiring harness came, this little bracket, and pulled it off, and look, was able to run the new harness right through there, right up into the floor there where the old one was. So that's pretty cool. Gonna tie up some of these wires down here for the trans. You can see there, I believe that's the sensor for the speedometer that I'll have to run from the OEM wiring harness. Alright guys, so I've just been wrapping up a few things with the wiring harness, cleaning it up, zip tying stuff here and there. Went ahead and put some oil in it, just, you know, to make sure I don't forget that. I'm about to start working on some fuel lines, doing AN6 from basically the hard line. There's a section right underneath of the passenger seat. I've got some adapters for that, for the AN6 line. I want to just run that up to the fuel rail. That'll be good for now. And then I'll need to drop the tank to install the new fuel pump. So I'll probably do that. I'm not going to really film much doing the fuel line just because I don't know what I'm doing. Never really messed with any of the AN hose stuff. So see how that goes. Hopefully it goes pretty smooth. It's been a rough day for me today. I've been having a lot of ADHD stuff going on, so I keep jumping back and forth between project to project, and I literally just saw one that I sort of halfway started on earlier and apparently got sidetracked with something else. Who knows? I don't. Anyway, I'll give you all an update once we get some, either the fuel line ran or maybe this, you know, power steering pump like I started working on earlier finished. I don't know, we'll see in a second. So I've cut the first AN line for the fuel return, and I cut it too long. So I've got it routed to where it works, but it's still a little too long. So we're gonna see if this one is the right length before I, you know, tighten down everything with the ferrules and, you know, make it unusable. I think the ferrules are unusable after you tighten them. I mean, every other type of ferrule that I've used is, well, unusable after you use it. You know, it's one-time use. So if I try to take it apart, I don't know what'll happen. I guess the fittings that I'm using will work. And I've got a bunch of fittings that I'm not gonna use. So, you know, I've got the ferrules that I could use. We may up pulling it off and making one that's a little shorter. But we'll see. Let's get this one on and see if it works. All right, so I got the fuel lines in and ran. I ended up taking the return out and cutting it down a little bit. Like I said, it was sort of running over here, too close to the header. I've got it ran right along both of them together there. So my fuel system, what I have left to do is I need to install the fuel pump as well as wire the fuel pump in. The harness that I have has the fuel pump relay in it. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I need to do that. I am just the worst when it comes to electrical stuff. So the wiring harness was pretty easy at this point because it was, you know, plug and play other than that mass airflow sensor, and I know enough to, you know, be able to connect the yellow to the yellow, I guess, you know. But whenever I'm trying to figure out, man, I got stuff all over me, don't I? Oh well, whatever. Whenever I'm trying to, when I don't have the plug that I can just plug straight into, and I'm trying to figure out exactly what I need to keep from my OEM wiring harness and what I need to run from the new wiring harness. All right, so one thing that I find really cool is, you know, here in the booklet that I got with the wiring harness, it shows, you know, the fuse box there that was sent with it and what everything is. And then I get over here to the fuse box and I take the panel off, and it's a single row. Double row, single row. So I'm not sure, you know, what's going to be what, other than I can sort of see a little bit with, you know, I'll know the ones that are, well, as long as the fuses are in the right place, I'll be able to look at what's, you know, how many amps. And really, I mean, there's only 2 of them that are different. So That'll be fun. Like driving a Ford all over again. As far as the wiring harness goes, I think I'm getting pretty close to having to put a battery in and try to find, you know, my ignition, find wires under the dash that are ignition hot, and so I can hook up this wiring harness to, it does have one wire for the ignition that it says, let's see here. Ignition wire to key on and cranking power. So I have to figure out, yeah, I have to find a wire under the dash that is hot with the key on while we're cranking, and then I need to wire in to switch. I need to wire something in for the fuel pump and then wire to the fuel pump. I think I'm going to, before I pull the fuel pump out and before I put a battery in, I think I'm going to take some alligator clips and jump a battery over to the fuel pump, and I may, if it's right, I may be able to just pull that out of the OEM wiring harness, the plug or the wires, and run those up through the hole in the floor here. Yeah, I could run it up right through the hole in the floor that the wiring harness goes to, and plug it into, you know, right there into our relay. You know, I think that should work. I guess we're gonna find out. So I'm going through my OEM wiring harness, taking it apart. You can see all the wire loom there. And I'm honestly not sure how this thing hasn't burned to the ground. I mean, there are so many exposed wires. It's ridiculous. Let's see here. Look at this. Oh. Exposed wires. Exposed wires. Why won't we stop recording? Well, my phone is refusing to stop recording, so I don't know. I need a new phone. I'm doing all this on an iPhone 8. I hate buying new phones, but I think it's about time because there's a lot of issues with this one. Still recording? Yep. Well, guess we got that anyway. So that's where I'm gonna have to end this episode of As the Crank Turns, because as you can see, I've had to shave. That means I'm going to work tonight. Yeah. Back to the real world. Back to my job. Gotta make money. But anyway, as you can see, this is a mess. It's a hot mess. Yeah. Real nasty like. Anyway, the next episode we're going to continue on this hot mess back here, as well as replacing the fuel pump with our new fuel pump, which I have right here. I'm not exactly sure this will work. This is actually a fuel pump that I had from whenever I had a Subaru. It's a DW300, as you can see, and I think we should be able to make it work. Now, if you have any experience with LS swaps and you know that this will not work for whatever reason, drop a comment below and let me know. That way I don't get, waste too much time trying that. But anyway, that's going to be it for this one. Remember to like the video, drop us a comment below, let me know what you think about these videos. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, it helps a lot. And yeah, until the next time of As the Crank Turns, you all have a good one.
Well, bye.